The bullets and the punches and the riots have been flowing in only one direction for too long.
I've been trying to tell you guys this whole time how corrupt all of these things were, and here we are.
It is not our responsibility to fix something they spent years intentionally trying to destroy. Unity can only happen in a country when you have a people who agree on what the outcomes should be. Well, what's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. How's everybody doing? All you guys that have joined us in the comments over on YouTube, on Rumble, over on X. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's Wednesday, and we have got an absolutely massive, massive show for you. I don't know how we're going to fit all of this in, but we're going to try. Nom, SK, how are you all doing tonight?
Good. I'm tired, but good.
Tired. We're just
Podcast
started,
Wednesday.
SK. It is Podcast Wednesday. What do you mean you're tired? This is like,
you guys, I've been so busy, and I read constantly, so it's like my eyes are tired.
this is like, we were uniquely made for this stuff. Like, this
That's
is the
true.
stuff that we were made for. It's like invigorating. Nom,
It
I hear
is.
you talk
SK,
about
you-
that all the time.
Yeah, SK, you might need blue light glasses if
I
your
have
eyes
some.
are feeling tired.
I'm
Do
gonna
you?
take them off
Do you
when I
use-
come on here because I look weird with
Okay.
them on.
Okay.
See, I have like a whole drawer full.
Oh, there you go. There you go. You look like Sally Jesse Raphael with those on.
I look like an old lady. I have all
Yeah.
different colors.
Half the people watching this are like, who the hell is Sally Jesse Raphael? It's a
I know
Gen
who
X
she
thing.
I know
It's a
who
Gen
she-
X thing. If you don't know
Yeah.
who she is, then you're just too young. That's just the way it is. All right, folks, we have got to get into this because we have a mountain of information to go through tonight. We've got the biggest issues facing the American people right now. And from our count, there's 3 of them. I don't know if we're going to be able to get through all 3 of them. So we're going to tackle what I think will probably be the first 2. The most important issues that the American people are dealing with, front and center, the government shutdown. I know we all want this thing to go away, but it's not going to go away anytime soon. It's not going away anytime soon at all. I did a video about a week and a half ago saying that after the failure of the No Kings protest, I thought the Democrats were going to buckle because they didn't really have anything left to fight for, because their protest movement collapsed in front of their eyes and it turned into a giant KKK-like rally with a bunch of 70-year-old retirees, all white people. It was a disaster. Boy, was I wrong. I was wrong. And I have to admit it. So some of y'all may have seen this, but this morning I put out on TikTok a video basically upping the ante and telling the Republican Party that it's time to take the gloves off and call their bluff and to do what so many people are terrified of doing, which is to use the nuclear option to open the government up. And I had somebody reach out to me, somebody very closely connected in Washington, D.C., and I can just tell you right now that the Democrats are not budging. They are not moving. They are absolutely terrified of the radical wing of their party. Terrified.
Well, that's the only place. The radical wing of the party is where the only treasure chest exists anymore. It's from the billionaires that fund these radical NGOs. The billionaires that are funding these radical NGOs, because there's no more USAID funding to get siphoned back into their coffers anymore, right? That's mostly dried up. So they have to rely on George Soros and Neville Singham and, Reid Hoffman, who are the guys that want the color revolution in this country. They want the radicals. And SK is, I'm sure she's going to tell you very soon exactly why they want it and how they're doing it. And frankly, it's been going on for a long time. And she just scared the crap out of me when she said that they are literally at the two-yard line.
That's
Yeah,
right.
And getting
they're
exactly what they want.
Several weeks ago, I was I've been researching all day, every day, for years, but very heavily since Charlie Kirk was killed. And I sat one day a few weeks ago and just started crying, because the more I learn and the more I figure out how far down this road we are, the more it scares me that there's no way to fix it. There's no return. It's terrifying. We are on the precipice of completely rebuilding our country without the Constitution and in a whole new way. That's what they want, is a new America. And they don't want democracy the way we think of democracy. They don't want a constitutional republic. They don't want populism. They don't want that at all. It's Marxism, it's communism. And, this is what the Democrats get for allowing these people to take over their party and going along with this for the campaign donations.
So I just want to before we get too far into this, because I'm already seeing in the comments, I'm watching the Rumble, and I think some of you guys are probably watching YouTube. I think that it is naive to believe that if we were to actually to invoke the nuclear option, that it would allow the Democrats to use it in the future. They are going to do it anyway.
Yep.
They
They've told us.
absolutely. In fact, they are very, very mad at the auto pen because the auto pen didn't invoke or didn't use the nuclear option and blow up the filibuster. They were very mad about that. They wanted the courts packed. They wanted all of this stuff done, and they're mad that he didn't do it. But I'm going to tell you right now, when they get back into the House and the Senate, if they have the White House at the same time, they will do it. There's no question about it. So let's just take that off the table now to worry about that, in my opinion.
You are completely right. I was watching a seminar today from one of these organizations, and it was from 2021, and they were talking about exactly what they're doing in California right now with the redistricting, and they were talking about doing everything that they could to be able to add as many seats as they possibly could so that they could make sure that they maintained control of both houses, or maintain control of the House, and they got as many seats as they possibly could.
The plan has been laid out for a while. The plan is to give statehood to Washington, D.C. and to give statehood to Puerto Rico, which they think would give them an immediate 4 Senate seats and however many House seats as well. But look, folks, what I'm hearing on the back channels are a couple of things. So I originally, just as a reminder, thought that this was going to come to an end early this week, maybe at the earliest late last week. But what I'm hearing right now is that conversations in Washington, D.C. are not happening at all. And I don't mean cross-party conversations. I don't mean no negotiations between Republicans and Democrats. What I'm hearing is that the Democrat leadership isn't even talking to their own caucus. Their caucus understands what's happening to their constituents and are begging them to come up with some solution for it. And the leadership have completely boxed them out. They have become convinced that they can use this government shutdown to hammer the Republican Party in the midterms. That's how delusional they are, because they're not paying close enough attention. And I honestly think, Nom, that they are goading the Republicans into using the nuclear option, which we'll get to here in a little bit. We're going to talk some more about the nuclear option and why I still think that that's on the table, and I think it needs to happen. The problem that they're having is that their messaging isn't working. It's not working at all. So they've actually shifted, and they've kind of shifted their strategies over the last couple of weeks. And I want to start and kind of walk you through kind of the changing strategies that they've been using and where they are today. So I'm going to pull up a quick video that I want to show everybody just to give you a sense of how they started this about 2 weeks ago. And then I want to show you where we are right now. So give me just a moment to get this one up, and then we'll get rolling here. So the first video I want to show you is absolutely fascinating. It is, hold on, where's it at? Where'd you go? Oh, here it is. Okay. Video 3, SOT 3. Are we ready? Here we go.
I have been a skeptic from
Listen to this. Listen closely.
We're about to find out that the Democratic shutdown strategy was genius because the Washington Post just broke some news. Enrollment isn't available yet. What they found is because of Donald Trump, health insurance prices are set to increase by 18% this year, but that's not even close to the whole thing because that 18% price increase doesn't include the subsidies expiring. Once you add in the cost that you're going to have to pay because Donald Trump's one big beautiful bill canceled the subsidies, the average annual cost for individual coverage is going to jump from $888 this year.
All right, you get the point. What did you guys hear there? What did you guys catch?
I heard a chorus, and I heard that they're going to wait for the premiums to rise so that they can say, look what the Republicans did. They made your premiums rise. But we've already been over this with the charts and all the stuff and explained the subsidies.
Are you telling me that Chorus Media is named so that everybody will speak as a chorus?
I mean,
through
they don't just
their
make these names
talking
up.
points and their issued memos.
Did you-
Is that
did
why
you
that
just
name
get that?
exists?
Did you just get that?
I literally, that just went off in my head. Are you kidding me? It sounds like a chorus. Well,
It
no
is.
shit.
It is a chorus. It's absolutely a chorus. That failed. It failed.
Yeah.
Why did it fail?
Mhm.
Because people like me, like Nom and like SK and a bunch of other people started sharing the truth with you and started showing you that this government shutdown was about a lot of different things, but it had nothing to do with just a normal increase of healthcare expenses. It simply has to do with the fact that they don't want the COVID credit to vanish and for all those subsidies to go away. But the bottom line, well, there's a bunch of bottom lines. Really what they're upset about is that a bunch of money is not going to continue to flow over to insurance companies who are then turning around and passing it right back to Democrats in their campaign coffers.
That's right. That's what it is. That's because this is all guaranteed annual revenue for these insurance companies, all guaranteed. And the donations that and the lobbying that they do, they use this guaranteed revenue. And when it starts to dry up, so does the donations to their coffers.
That's right. But because the chorus media scripts didn't work, now the Democrats have started to turn to some of their fresh faces in their caucus. Are you guys familiar with this congresswoman from New Mexico, Melanie Stansbury? Have you guys seen her before? You want to talk about cringe. So I got 2 videos of her I want to share with you guys just so you can get a flavor of who this person is. And for some reason, they seem to think that she's going to be the person to go out and solve the problem that the Democrats have of messaging. So here is a video of her talking to at a press conference. And then I got another one to show you what she sounds like when she's actually asked questions, because she's trying really hard to stay on script.
That you are making to starve American children, elders, seniors, veterans, people with disabilities, because you think that this is a political game, and we are not here to play. So feed our children.
Feed our children. Feed our children. I have an idea. How about you feed your own damn children? Crazy.
I was going to wait until later for this, but especially after she just said that, and this is an elected official, I just want to say to all of you socialists and Marxists and communists, thinking that you can rely on the federal government to take care of you and to rely on the federal government for your basic needs, for your health care, for your food, for your housing, these people will let you starve. They will let you die if it serves their political purpose. They do not care about you. This is why the federal government should not be in charge of your health care. This is why you shouldn't count on the federal government to feed you or house you.
I mean,
I have a pretty.
We're watching the result of that now, because now all of you are their tools, and I do mean that in multi-contexts. There are multiple contexts you could take that in. You're a tool, and you're being used like a tool.
Absolutely. My question is this: I thought they didn't want a king. Now they're begging somebody to feed them. It's almost like they do, in fact, want a king, someone that's going to guarantee their food and their housing and their spending money and all the things that they need in life, because they're not capable of doing it for themselves. So maybe they do want a king.
They do.
Maybe the whole no king thing is really just a giant hoax, but
It's
they
just
do, in
not
fact,
that
want a
king.
king.
Yeah, it's just not that king. They just don't want Donald Trump. That's the problem.
Unbelievable.
Trump has never behaved like a king, and that's the problem.
That's right.
Their entire worldview is just ass backwards, completely 180 degrees out of phase here.
Entirely. So here's Melanie Stansbury when she gets asked some difficult questions, because she's pretty good when all she's doing is staring at a camera behind a lectern, spewing out her talking points.
Well, there's a teleprompter in front of her.
Reading a teleprompter. She's pretty good about feigning outrage, but man, wait until you see what happens when she gets asked questions by even the friendly networks. Because when you start to lose CNN and CNN starts to ask you basic questions and you can't handle them, well, I think we understand why the Democrats are losing the messaging game.
can use the hunger of children to try to leverage Democrats rather than feeding 42 million Americans. And we're not going to stand for it. We're going to sue them. We're going to use the courts. We're going to use Congress. And we're going to do everything we can at the community level to make sure that Americans can put food on the table this weekend.
Should the Democratic,
and we're not going to stand for it.
Should the Democratic senators from New Mexico, your home state, vote to open the government so that these SNAP funds are not at risk?
Let me be clear. The administration is choosing to starve American children with money that they already have appropriated.
I'm not applauding their
by
tactics.
The White House.
Well,
this is a choice by the White House.
This
they
is
are
also,
choosing
Congresswoman,
to cut
this is
off
also a
food
choice
assistance.
by Senate Democrats
No,
to not
it is
vote to
not.
open the government. Yes, it is. I understand why they're doing it. They're doing it because they want Medicaid funds restored. They're doing it because they want Obamacare premiums to be extended past the end of the year. I understand the reasoning.
Sir, let me just be clear. The money for contingency plans is sitting there. That is why the states are suing. The White House is withholding funds from
2 to 3
children
weeks worth
to
of SNAP
have
funds.
food.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it may not be a big deal to you, but let me
It is
tell
a
you
big
that
deal to
for
me.
the grandparents, for grandparents
It is a big deal
that
to me.
literally are feeding their children.
My point
to
is that
not
it's a
have
short-term
money
solution.
In those accounts.
It's a short-term.
Matter. At the end of the day, people need to be able to feed their families, and Saturday is when those funds
If you
run
feel
out.
so
And
strongly,
we are fighting
Congresswoman,
to get
why
that
not
funding.
ask the Senate Democrats from New Mexico to vote to open the government so that the SNAP funds...
Sir, I am here in the House of Representatives. It is shut down. I am fighting to get the government.
All right, you get the point. Melanie Stansberry does not know how to answer even a basic question. She is wildly ill-equipped to be able to deal with the reality that it at this point only takes 5 more Democrats to open the government. 5. So what is she talking about? She's talking about this contingency fund that is supposed to have been set up because of a law that was created a number of years ago that basically says that they need to create a rainy day fund, if you will, for events like this. The problem is because the Otto Penn administration opened up the borders and brought in tens of millions of illegal immigrants and immediately put them on federal assistance, there's no money left.
Yep.
There's no
USDA,
money.
It's the USDA fund. Yeah. They already spent it.
There's no money. And as a matter of fact, because Democrats are absolutely desperate to try to distract you from what's really happening here. Oh, and I'm going to show you what's really happening here because we have some leaked video to share with you. And it is disgusting. But because they're so desperate to try to distract you, 25 Democrat-run states have now sued the administration, demanding that they fund SNAP benefits, even though they refuse to open the government. Like, that's how crazy these idiots are. They want to sue the administration to come up with money that they don't have because they want to keep the government shut down.
And suing the administration for their party not voting to open the government, do they not realize that they have time? If they were serious and they really cared about you and your EBT benefits and any of your government assistance that you use, they would vote to pass this continuing resolution, and then they would continue debating over the subsidies and the things that they're asking for. Meanwhile, you would still be able to get your benefits, but they won't do that.
That's right.
Oh,
they won't do it.
So we have always asked the question, Patriot Dad, you and I, we've asked this question for years because this sort of gamesmanship goes on where vulnerable people, like it's always police and fire and teachers that are on the chopping block, right? Every time, even if it's at the state level, the local level, the federal level, every single time there's a budget problem, it's always the people in your neighborhood that are impacted. This is on purpose. This is not an accident. There are billions and billions of dollars of useless things that we spend money on, but no, we don't ever want to cut those. We're always going after teacher, firefighters, and police officers. And now, because they need their weaponized, ignorant people, it's the EBT folks.
I'm going to have to ask you to do me a favor, Nom. You're going to have to change the label. It's not weaponized ignorance. It's weaponized stupidity.
Well,
because ignorance means that these people just don't know any better. That's not the problem. They're just stupid.
See, I actually disagree with you. So, and I am going to change the label. And I started to do this in some comments I was in earlier. I don't think it's weaponized ignorance. The reason why I called it weaponized ignorance is because the people like the psycho you just had on there, she's
Melanie
not ignorant.
Stansberry from New
Melanie
Mexico.
Stansberry is not ignorant, but she knows that almost all of her voters are absolutely ignorant to how any of this works. So
yeah, she's
she is
weaponizing their stupidity.
Their ignorance, their stupidity. However, we used to call them useful idiots.
Yeah.
Because that's what they are, right? In fact, I'm just going to start calling them weaponized idiots. They're weaponized idiots.
I'm pretty sure that's what Stalin called them. Useful idiots.
Well, he didn't call them weaponized idiots. He called them useful idiots.
Yeah.
Same thing. I think they're weaponized idiots because they are intentionally spun up to be weaponized against us.
Yep, that's right. But there's a problem because it's not working. So I've been tracking, you guys know I love to look at polling. I like to pay attention to what's happening in public sentiment. It's something that I just enjoy. I enjoy statistics. I enjoy economics. I'm a nerd about this kind of stuff. I didn't show you the CNN clip by accident because something is going on over at that place. For some reason, they have decided that maybe it's just random acts of journalism. I don't know. Maybe they just like, it's like, I had an old family member used to say that a sun shines on a dog's ass once in its life, and maybe it just got lucky and its tail's in the right position and the sun's shone on its ass. But CNN is doing some actual journalism. So here you have
new leadership. It's new ownership. That's why.
Good.
It's new.
But
leadership.
Here's Harry Enton over at CNN telling their audience, scaring the living bejeebies out of their audience, telling them, almost begging them to catch on to the reality that the Democrats are losing this fight, and they're losing it in a big way. Here we go. Harry Enton.
The net popularity versus pre-shutdown. Among when we're looking at the Republican Party overall, that brand actually up 2 points. That's within the margin of error, but clearly it hasn't dropped. Come over to this side of the screen. Look at the net approval ratings for Republicans in Congress. It's actually up 5 points since pre-shutdown. So what we're seeing here is the Republican brand in Congress has actually improved somewhat compared to where we were pre-shutdown, despite the fact that Republicans control. And that's the math that John Thune and Mike Johnson are looking at. It's rallying the base for sure. Look at this. The net approval rating up 12 points versus pre-shutdown. But it's not just with the base. It's also with the middle of the electorate. Look at this. Among independents, it's up 8 points as well. So we've got a situation here where Republicans with the shutdown are actually rallying their base, but it's also something that's not hurting them with the folks in the middle. If anything, it's helping them with folks in the middle. And this is the type of math that if you're Republicans, you like to see, right?
I hadn't seen that. That's freaking explosive.
But it makes sense because look at all the people, even our own friends that we spent lots of time with that were libertarians or were independent, and they voted for Donald Trump because they wanted what Donald Trump was offering. And one of the things that they weren't happy about in the beginning was the big, beautiful bill because they thought it was entirely too much spending and they wanted to cut all that spending. So you have all these independent people that actually care about the economy and our debt and the amount of money that our government is wasting. And these people don't want to continue spending all this money, and they see they are rational enough to be able to see. And that's why it's gone up with independents, because you have them upset over the big, beautiful bill. And then they're like, well, wait, maybe the GOP is getting a spine and they're going to start cutting a bunch of the spending and not continue these subsidies.
Yeah. Or maybe it has something to do with the new libs of TikTok, like TikTok or X account. What is it?
EBT of TikTok.
EBT of TikTok.
It is fantastic. I found that yesterday.
Good.
Have you guys seen that?
I
Guys, over in the
posted
comments. Listen, folks, in the comments, if you have not been to the EBT of TikTok account on X yet, you have got to go visit this. I'm pretty convinced that it's the same young lady who runs Libs of TikTok. Chaya Raycheck. Yeah, it has to be her because she's freaking brilliant. It's fantastic. See, I don't think people understand. Like listen, EBT crowd, just a tip, from a normal guy who, works my ass off to provide for my family, doesn't take a penny from the government, single income household, well, multiple streams of income from one person. It doesn't go over well when you're sitting in your car weighing 350 pounds, complaining about somebody taking your EBT with 6 kids, unwilling to work. That doesn't work on us. I don't feel bad for you.
Especially when you're pulling stacks and stacks and stacks of prime rib out of your Coach purse and you got rings on every freaking finger.
It doesn't work.
I did a video about that one.
You should have sent me that video, but that's all right because MSNBC is trying to revive the whole weaponized stupidity mantra because they realize that they're losing this fight. Have you guys all seen what the MSNBC clips that they're starting to put out? They're trying to run their own EBT of TikTok account, but they're trying to figure out which one of the narrow slice of these lunatics they can pull from to actually try to make you feel bad for them. Even though I don't, but they're still trying it anyway. You guys got to see this. It's a little bit longer, but I'm going to play it because I want you to see what the radical left captured legacy media is trying to do to convince you that we need to surrender this fight. Here you go. Check this out.
Finally got confirmation that food stamps is officially cut for next month.
About 2 months ago, I stopped eating dinner almost every night of the week so that my boyfriend and I could have enough food left over to have lunch the next day. This was before we were about to lose our food stamps. Mind you, we both work.
I don't think that we really realize the depth that this is, the damage that this is going to do, but the women, the mothers, and the families, but the mothers especially, who are going to go without meals so their children don't have to. I know that I will absolutely be one of those mothers.
But because we have children and because aftercare and before care is too expensive, I've taken a job that's basically minimum wage so that I can be there to pick up my kids. I cannot fathom what we're going to do without that food stamp money, because if I already couldn't eat dinner with that food stamp money,
I'm so tired of seeing people say like, oh, well, maybe if you had a job, you could get your groceries, or, you know what I'm saying, you wouldn't have to depend on stamps. I work full time. Thank you. And I do rely on stamps because guess what? It's not enough money in this economy for me to be able to pay bills and get stuff that we need and provide for my 2 kids. So yes, I depend on stamps. And I have a full-time job. So please know that people out here depend on stamps. It's not because we out here just mooching off the government. It's because we literally need that to provide for our family.
I work hard every single day. I get up every single day and clean houses, and I still rely on food stamps to feed my 6 children because the prices are so high. It's unrealistic to think about not having food stamps. Next month, I'm so terrified because 6 babies are always eating. Plus myself, I eat about 1 meal a day, but still.
All right, I'm done. I can't take much more.
Yeah.
Out of the 6 people that they showed there, how many of them had 6 kids?
No,
3.
at least 2 said it out loud. Was it
At
3?
least 2. I think I saw a third one. 6 kids.
Listen,
Yeah.
I don't have any problem at all writing a check to pay my taxes in order to help people that legitimately need help. But here's the problem. This needs to be handled at a state level. I don't think that this should be a federal level issue. I think states and the people of the states need to decide what it is that they want to do. And taxpayers are much more willing to be charitable and to pay more in taxes if they can see it going to work in their community, in their state. When you're giving it to the federal government, they're mismanaging it. They're sending it to foreign countries. It's not going to anything that you care about. And when you're paying your state or local taxes, it's a different story. It's going to your community. You also don't even have to have a state program because you have churches, you have charities, you have people that are willing to help and be charitable and do everything that they can to make sure that everyone has what they need, the people that need it.
I totally agree with you, SK. Completely 100% agree with everything that you just said. I also have no problem helping people who absolutely need it. Unfortunately, that is not the design of this exercise of the Democrat Party. This has nothing at all to do with helping people who are going to go hungry. It has to do with 2 things. First, it has to do with continuing the gravy train of the massive amount of people that have come into the country to be able to sustain themselves while they're here. Have you guys seen this chart? I want to show this. This is a little bit out of order, but I want to show this chart to folks that are watching in the comments and then also here. And I would love to get your guys' perspective of this. Have you guys seen this chart before? This chart recently came out, and it talks about the percentage of U.S. households receiving SNAP benefits. Look at the top ranking residents, illegal residents, or in some cases, legal residents in the United States and the countries they come from. Look at this. This is insane. Almost 50% of people from Afghanistan are receiving SNAP benefits. 42% of people here from Somalia receiving SNAP benefits. 34% are from Iraq receiving SNAP benefits. This is insane. It's absolutely insane that we have opened up our borders, allowed these people to flood in the country, and in some cases, more than 50% of them are receiving federal taxpayer funded benefits.
Well, look, the requirements for, even with the eligibility requirements, when you are a refugee in this country, you are eligible for more things immediately. You don't have to wait 5 years to have access to entitlements or any of those things. So when you see the Afghan at 45.6% of the people from Afghanistan in this country that are getting benefits, that's because likely a lot of those people are refugees from the Biden administration, from the pullout in Afghanistan and all of that, and they immediately get benefits from the federal government.
No, I hear you. The other thing that they are desperately trying to hide from you is the actual reason while they're doing this. Again, I have some leaked footage that I'm going to share with you here in a couple minutes, but there's a couple other points I want to get to before we get there, because there's some just fascinating things that I found today. One of the reasons why this messaging war that they're playing is losing is because of us. It's because of this group of people right here and a bunch of other people on social media. You see, when MSNBC decides to put together these weaponized people and they put videos out like that, they're trying to do something that we won't let them do anymore. They're trying to convince you that you're supposed to lead with your emotions and you're supposed to blame Republicans for everything. That's always worked for them. But the problem is, we're just much better at this than they are now. You see, because when they do that, it takes me 3 seconds to show them this. 3 seconds to show them a graphic like this and start talking about it. You can put MSNBC, you can put all of the videos out you want about people crying in their car because their SNAP benefits are getting ready to be cut out. The problem is, it would only take 5 of these little blue boxes to join this group of red boxes, and all of those people would get their benefits funded. All of them. It's that simple. This is not hard. This is not like, doctorate level math. We're talking about 5 more people, 5 more Democrats who wake up one day and decide that they no longer want to use the American people as a weapon to try to push their agenda, and would open the government.
Well, here's what needs to happen. So I started thinking about this the other night, and I was very curious, right? Because what's the leverage that Chuck Schumer or the NGOs or the donors truly has over Democrats in the Senate? It's re-election funds, right? That's the real leverage they have, because it may be committee assignments, that kind of stuff. But really, at the end of the day, it's how much money can they get from leadership for their next re-election. The Senate, they're in office for 6 years, right? So they basically go through, a third of the Senate recycles every 6 years, every 2 years. There's about, I think there's something like 15 or 18, maybe 18 Democrats in the Senate right now who don't have to worry about re-election until 2028, because they were 2030, until 2030 is when they're next up for re-election. Those are the ones that need to be truly targeted with mass call campaigns, mass email campaigns, and frankly, maybe at their congressional offices to open this stuff. And it can't be us. It needs to be all the weaponized idiots that are watching their food stamps taken away from them. You only need 5 of those people to get up off their ass and say, you know what? I don't maybe care as much about the reelection funds because I don't have to worry about being reelected until 2030. These people are going to starve. But we also know that's not the only reason they're doing this.
That's not. Have you guys ever heard of Jennifer Welch? Do you guys know who Jennifer Welch is?
I do. She's from Oklahoma.
I mean, she's one of those Bravo housewives.
Well, it wasn't Bravo. It was another channel, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought she was funny then, and I thought her friend that's on her podcast with her is even more funny. But yeah, she can't sit with us. We don't claim her.
Well, she has become one of the stereotypical divorced women who are mad at the world and are taking it out on the American people. Did you guys see this clip of Jennifer Welch spilling the beans and explaining exactly why the Democrats are doing everything that the No Kings crowd is demanding that they do? Why the leadership of the Democrat Party is bowing the knee at these people? You got to see this if you haven't seen this video.
If you think the Zoran thing is happening just in New York and you think people are waking up only in New York City, you're mistaken. Look at this clip of a wine mom at the No Kings March. Play the clip.
Whatever his name was?
Charlie Kirk, ma'am?
Yeah, him is horrible. Horrible.
Charlie Kirk is horrible?
Yes, I'm glad he's not here.
You're glad he's dead?
Yes.
Why would you say something like that, ma'am?
Because he was horrible on the campuses, the college campuses. Horrible person.
You know what? I do the exact same thing.
Well,
would you be glad if I would die?
Maybe. I'd have to think about it.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Your friend just said she'd be happy if I died.
I think we need to...
So listen up, Democratic establishment. You can either jump on board with this shit or we're coming after you in the same way that we come after MAGA. Period. Stop taking AIPAC money. Go on it.
That fucking bitch.
There it is.
So can I just say something real quick? Because I did a video last week or after this. Caitlin Bennett in that same exact corner did a man on the street interview with a woman who was who out loud came and said that Hitler did not work efficient enough, that Hitler was right for doing what he did on that exact same corner. It was a brunette woman. Anyway, I'm sorry. Because I recognized that immediately.
She just told you.
They're doing it.
They are terrified.
The Nazis and the fascists are the ones that are pointing the finger at the right. They have 3 fingers pointing back to them for a reason.
Well, the Nazis and the fascists and the communists are now also pointing the fingers at Chuck U. Schumer, at Timu Obama, at Nancy Pelosi, at AOC, at Bernie Sanders, at all of them. And they're saying, if you guys don't get on board, we're coming after you next. They're terrified of the lunatics they've allowed in their own party. Terrified. Hey, Anthony, what's up over there in the comments? No guests tonight. Next time. Maybe Monday we might have a special guest. They're terrified of them. Absolutely terrified of them. Did you guys see John Thune today? Did you guys catch him? He's pissed. And I've never seen John Thune pissed before. But I got to show you John Thune. This is fascinating. He's very, very upset. And rightfully so. Here's John Thune giving it to the Democrats in the Senate.
Let me just point out, if I might, that we are 29 days into a Democrat shutdown. And the senator from New Mexico was absolutely right. SNAP recipients shouldn't go without food. People should be getting paid in this country. And we've tried to do that 13 times. And you voted no 13 times. This isn't a political game. These are real people's lives that we're talking about. And you all have just figured out, 29 days in, that, there might be some consequences. There are people who run out of money. Yeah, we're 29 days in. And they've done their best to make sure that a lot of these programs are funded. But at some point, the government runs out of money.
Yep.
13 times people over here voted to fund SNAP. 13 times they voted to fund WIC. My aching back.
Yeah, his aching back. His aching back. Hey, John, I have some news for you, bud. They don't care about any of that. They've gone to the microphones and they've been telling you for weeks now that they are fighting for Americans' health care, that they are fighting to provide benefits to the American people. We've talked about how they have a $1.5 trillion additional spending package that they want to insert in there to fund illegal immigrant healthcare benefits, to fund NPR and propaganda organizations, to send money over to Uganda and all these other places to do all these crazy things. None of that is the reason why they have shut the government down and are keeping the government shut down. For a while, I thought it was because they needed to protect the fact that Obamacare was collapsing. That's not it either. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. The reason that they are keeping this government shut down is because the No Kings protest failed absolutely miserably because they didn't have the right people out in the streets, and they need to get them in the streets.
Yep.
If you watch those video clips coming out of No Kings, again, it looked like a KKK rally. The black and the brown people weren't out there. They weren't there. That's who they need. Now, I don't know if you guys have caught this, and I think some of us glossed over it, but for the last couple of weeks, SK has been talking about an upcoming protest that's getting ready to happen on November 5th. You see, SK has all of this information that she's been gathering, and we're going to kind of start slowly leaking it out. But she kind of gave us a sneak peek of this. SK, you want to kind of intro what's happening on November 5th?
Yeah.
Because I have some leaked video I want to show you too.
Yeah, and this is something I've been talking about and trying to warn people about since June. When I, because you guys know, I infiltrated all those protest groups back in like February. I was trying to tell everyone who was funding all the Tesla protests before I didn't have hardly any following on X and nobody was paying attention. But yeah, by June, they were talking, they were planning, they were telling all of the people that were protesting that the big nationwide protest is going to be in November. They were making sure everyone had plenty of time to plan. And they're planning to be able to get all these people out there. And I think all these other protests that they've had leading up to November 5th haven't worked out exactly how they thought that they would. And they need something to fuel their revolution, their color revolution. And this is one of the ways I think that they're hoping to do this. They're starting on November 5th. And I get why they chose the date, but it is poor planning. And they clearly haven't learned from history because it's cold in Washington, D.C. And they're saying that they're starting November 5th and they're going to protest every single day until Donald Trump is removed from office.
They need chaos in the streets of Washington, D.C. in 7 days, 6 days.
They need fuel for the color revolution. They need people that are angry, that are hungry, that have kids that they need to feed. And they need those people out there in the streets doing anything and everything they can. Because as a mother, if I wasn't able to feed my kids and they were hungry, I would find a way to feed my kids. And they're doing exactly what it is that you would think that they would do in order to get as many people extremely angry and willing to do things out of character as possible.
Well,
is it out of character?
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I'm not sure it's out of character because they have all the evidence that they could ever possibly want to show that there actually is a part of the Democrat Party who is more than happy in destroying and tearing down whatever city they live in. We watched it happen in the summer of 2020, didn't we?
And 2016, don't forget Ferguson.
And 2016. Yeah, we watched it happen over and over and over again. And this is the part of the base of the Democrat Party that was nowhere to be found during the Hate America, No Kings protest. In fact, they said, that's not our fight, guys. Actually, we think Trump's doing a fine job. Now those people are getting ready to come off the sidelines and get in the game. And I can guarantee you that none of this is an accident. Absolutely not an accident.
I don't think that they were saying that they thought Trump was doing a good job and that's why they weren't participating. The people that weren't participating were the people that actually are trying to have a revolution and want regime change in the United States. And they were angry because they felt like all the No Kings protest group cared about was optics and winning midterms. And these people that did not participate in No Kings, they don't care about optics. They want actual regime change. And they say that the mainstream Democrats are they aren't doing enough.
They want a violent overthrow of the federal government. Let's not pull any punches. They want a violent overthrow of the federal government. So the organization that is planning the November 5th protest, or what could very easily turn into riots in Washington, D.C., is an organization called Refuse Fascism. It was started in part by a guy named Andy Z, who is a longtime revolutionary communist radical. And I don't make those words up. He uses them himself. That's how he defines himself, a revolutionary communist who started Refuse Fascism when Donald Trump won his first election back in 2016 and has been organizing and building a nationwide network of revolutionary communists for this moment right here. And here they are, a leaked video of them in a planning session talking exactly about what they plan to do when they get to Washington, D.C. in 6 days. Here they are.
5th in Washington, D.C., the largest sustained protest in Washington, D.C.'s history. This needs to be what happens right now. We're organizing millions of people to get to Washington, D.C., stand and surround the White House, surround the Capitol building, surround the illegitimately fascist Supreme Court, and not stop until the Trump regime is driven from power. We start on the 5th, we go to the 6th, we go to the 7th, we go to the 8th. We keep pushing every day, building and growing our numbers until masses of people are standing around the White House, around the Capitol building, around this fascistly packed Supreme Court until we drive the Trump fascist regime from power. Like I said, I'm with Carlos. We can't get washed away with trying to take on too much, trying to take on this and then that and then this, and trying to do everything all at once. We need to unify behind one simple demand. One simple demand is Trump must go now. Again, we cannot wait for election cycles, politicians, or the Supreme Court. We need to rise up into our millions right now, beginning on November 5th. Get to Washington, D.C. if you can. Come organize with us. We're chartering a plane to get as many people there as we can. If you can't organize with us, support our organization so we can send as many people that we can to get to Washington, D.C. We're a nationwide organization. We have coalitions all over the country. So we need to stand behind this one simple demand. Again, it's very simple. Trump must go now. The fall of the fascist Trump regime begins on November 5th, 2025, which is the 1-year anniversary when this fascist regime took office.
Right.
That is just sedition, by the way.
Yes. And you heard him say if you can't come out, you can support our organization so we can get more people there. There's a tab on their website where you can click on get on the bus to DC and they will pay your way to be able to get there. The other organization that is one of the groups that has organized this is called Flare, and they've been protesting this whole time. They've also been involved with the Mayday group, which that guy that founded it got arrested a couple months ago.
I have a message for the Refuse Fascism crowd. Piss off. The Trump administration, you can say your message because my wife will get mad at me.
My message is fuck off. Why do you think the National Guard is being staged in certain cities? Do you think Trump is ready to fuck around with you retards? Do you?
Can I just say I love that word has made a comeback because it is so important in certain contexts.
It's so bad.
I grew up in the 90s. I never thought twice about saying it. I never thought anything of what people made it into. I never thought that when I used it.
No, in fact, frankly, I actually don't care because the people I'm talking to are retarded.
So I'm going to break decorum, and I hope my wife doesn't hear this, but you can all go fuck right off as far as I'm concerned. Every last one of you refuse fascism. You ain't taking our president out. You're not taking out our administration. We voted for this, and you're just going to have to fucking live with it.
Keep in mind the hypocrisy here. These are the same people that push the word democracy all day, every day, and you have Donald Trump in office because the majority of people voted to put Donald Trump in office. And this is what you get, protesting and trying to overthrow the government and regime change because it's not the democracy that they want.
I thought surrounding federal buildings was an insurrection. Isn't that what we were told for 4 years?
Didn't we just spend 4 years? In fact, didn't the FBI just launch a Arctic frost investigation with absolutely no predicate that targeted almost 500 Republicans on the basis that standing in front of the Capitol building and a couple of people getting a little bit rowdy, though we now know there's 275 feds that were in there and a bunch of Antifa agitators. We knew that on the day, by the way. Didn't we just have to sit back and listen for 4 years where you called us traitors and insurrectionists and everything else under the book? And you're actually have been planning for months to do the exact same thing. What happened on January 6th was entirely spontaneous because we were watching an election be stolen because we actually value the constitutional republic and democratic norms. And what you guys are doing is actively planning and funding from foreign sources in a lot of cases. I mean, that's treason and sedition. You know what? That's capital punishment. The National Guard, I don't care if they go freaking full wide open on these bastards. I don't.
But listen, there's a two-tiered justice system, and for some reason, it's the Democrats are able to go after and prosecute Republicans and, people surrounding Trump, Donald Trump himself. But when it comes down to it, we can have all the evidence against all of these people and not a damn thing gets done.
I think we know why. It's because there was an auto pen in office who was putting all of these judges in place. They were selecting these radicals, putting them on district courts. They were helping to get these attorney generals and these district attorney generals, district prosecutors in place that were all funded by Soros specifically for that reason. Exactly for that reason. To inflict star chamber justice on the American people. That's what they're there for. And if the Trump administration doesn't get off their butts and take care of this issue now, we're going to have a major problem. We might have to show up in Washington, D.C., depending on how long this thing goes and how bad it gets. We might.
Well, you guys can. I'll hold down the fort. I'll make sandwiches. How about that?
Okay. I mean, we did. I mean, millions of folks or hundreds of thousands of folks showed up on January 6th. We can organize to get there. And I'm going to tell you right now, you little radical communists, you are not ready for when the shackles come off of MAGA. I can promise you that you are not ready. You may think you are, but your little plastic 5-gallon trash can shields are not going to cut it. And you may have a couple of snipers around, hanging up in the building somewhere. Actually, you won't, because those are going to be ours, because I don't know if you know this or not, but we actually own the military now. So
unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. So folks, that's why the Democrats have the government shut down right there. They are prepping the field for the start of their violent revolution against the United States. I don't know how else to put it. Well, they are preparing the field.
Yeah. The truly unfortunate part of the preparing the field is they're going to actually starve a hell of a lot of people to get them out in the streets. And they're happy to do it. They're fine. They actually enjoy doing it. They're going to enjoy watching the power they wield over the people who suckle at the teat of the federal government. And like all socialists actually do.
That's right. They are willing to take food out of the mouths of babies in many instances to piss their parents off enough to get them in the street so that they can say that they have enough people to engage in a violent revolution against the United States. That's the bottom line. I don't know how else to tell you. So really the Republican Party has two choices, because it is clear right now that the Democrats are losing the messaging war. They are going to lose the war in the street. It's not going to be successful for them. So the Republican Party can continue to do what they're doing right now, which is to watch the Democrat Party slide further and farther into the abyss, or the Trump administration can use the nuclear option and open the government and fund the benefits for people who are desperate to get those benefits before the holidays. And yesterday, I was convinced that they need to use the nuclear option. I'm still convinced, with the caveat, and NomDePlume said this earlier. We want our pound of flesh. We demand our pound of flesh because the 60 vote cloture rule is the only thing right now that is standing in the way of full implementation of the Trump agenda. If you're not going to get your pound of flesh, Republicans, then don't even bother with a nuclear option. Don't even bother with it. It's not worth it.
I second that. If they're going to do away with the 60 vote filibuster for cloture, then yeah, we better get every single piece of legislation shoved down their throats with simple majority votes. Every one of Donald Trump's executive orders need to be codified. We need border policy. We need cuts to all the spending, all of it.
Yeah, it's not a we better. We have to get the pound of flesh. It has to happen because, listen, we've gone full circle. Started at the, nuclear option, probably not such a good idea because, some people are afraid that they'll use it against us. They're going to do it anyway. We went through all of this, and now we're back at the place where the nuclear option might be the only way that keeps a couple of million people out of the streets because they're hungry, right? And essentially maybe delay at least the revolution that they're looking for, and they're not relying on the hungry people that aren't getting their EBT and their SNAP benefits. But when the Trump administration does this, they're not going to have a choice. I'm sorry. When they do it, they've got to solidify the constitutional republic so well and so hard that they can never actually have the revolution that they want. You've got to do it through nationwide national voter ID, period. So they can never win another election. I mean, there's so many, the list of so many things that have to be done, but they are going to be required to get the pound of flesh, required to get Project 2025 done if you want to reduce and basically eliminate the voting power of all of the illegal immigrants that have come here, all of the legal immigrants that for some reason are voting, and by the way, their ability to steal elections. That all has to go away. Otherwise, it's all for naught.
That's right. And for those of you Democrats who've been running around the country for the last several years demanding democracy in America, the nuclear option will give you democracy good and hard. Good and hard.
No soft power here.
And I still think they should do it. I still think they should take the opportunity of using the nuclear option and jam every single piece of the Trump agenda. And let's throw in the rest of Project 2025 just for the fun of it. Good and hard.
Super
democracy.
Do it.
Just the way you want it. Good and hard. That's what you get. All right. We are at almost an hour. Do we even have time to go into the next topic? Do you want to touch on it? Can we summarize it? Maybe come back to it, or
Maybe we can do another podcast later this week. I don't know what you guys are doing tomorrow or Friday, but
I've got the prayer live tomorrow, so I can't do it tomorrow, but maybe Friday. I don't know what Nom's schedule. But folks, we had two more topics we wanted to talk about, but this is such an important topic that we have to stay focused on what it is the Democrats are trying to do to our country. They are trying to destroy this country inside and out, from the bottom up, destroy it so that it looks nothing like it used to look.
This is the enemy within that Donald Trump was talking about.
That's right.
Well, it's the enemy within that the Constitution was talking about, actually.
That too,
and
Donald
and
Trump
our oath of allegiance, and the oath that every single body that's ever served in any position of authority, any elected office or in the military is sworn to defend against.
That's right. All right, so we have two more topics. We may have to push those to a later show. We might try to put one together Friday or whenever we can. But we needed to talk about Arctic frost because this is a massive, massive issue. And we also need to talk about probably the biggest scandal in American history. Maybe, I don't know, it's kind of might be tied with Russian collusion and that whole hoax.
I think it's tied. Yeah.
But the auto pen scandal, I think it's worse too.
I think it's worse because you have to remember that means that Biden wasn't aware of legislation he was signing and executive orders that he was signing. There were people that we did not elect that were running this country, and that is antithetical to everything the United States of America stands for.
Here's the dirty.
So what they're talking about is the auto pen. The House Oversight Committee released a 100-page report on their investigation into the use of the auto pen and hiding and covering up the cognitive decline of Joe Biden. And it was worse than you would imagine. So go out and read it. We were going to get on that one because all three of these issues, whether it's the shutdown or it's the auto pen or it's the Arctic frost, the non-predicate dragnet of conservative across the country, They're all related. And they're related in such a way that, or the reason why they're related is because it shows you there's no limit to what these Democrats won't do. There's no limit. There's no emergency brake on their behavior to get in power, remain in power, and crush anybody else who doesn't believe or agree with them. Because they've shown it over and over and over again. And the question that I have with the Arctic frost is, how long has the FBI been used based by a establishment political party or people in the establishment to target political opponents and utterly destroy them? And this could have been
goes all the way back to J. Edgar Hoover.
It's
goes
been
all the
going
way
on for
back to
decades.
Hoover.
It's never changed. Yeah.
Well,
So,
and you
they're
guys
all
have
connected.
you guys have to prepare yourself for understanding on a very deep level that our agencies that are not supposed to be operating on U.S. soil have 100% been operating on U.S. soil. And all of those people that were fired from the federal government, from places like USAID and State Department, and where those people are embedded, the NGOs that they're embedded in, these people have all gotten together and they all had their own organizations before and were involved with organizations, but now they're all together in one big giant movement. And there is an entire network of funding, huge, every major foundation, everything you can imagine. They have all the money in the world. There's an entire website you can go to access the funds if you are a part of this group. And there are thousands of organizations willing to give you money.
Yeah. There's a lot of 501c3s, 501c3s, C4s, and C5 that need to be stripped, and they all need to be investigated. They all need to be jailed.
That in and of itself is the reason. That in and of itself is one reason to use the nuclear option to be able to do things like that with a simple majority. You want a democracy, give it to them good and hard, and strip every bit of power that these NGOs might have through the way they designate themselves with the IRS. Every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
That might be reason enough for you right there. But
Yep.
there's others. There's a whole lot more. Good and hard, Republicans. Good and hard. But here's the problem. They won't do it because they're pansies. They're afraid. They're scared of what they'll be called. So they won't put the interest of the American people first because they are pansies.
Yep.
And it's
And hey, if you're on the fence of the nuclear option because you're afraid it's going to be used against us in the future, it will anyway, whether we do it or not. I've got a couple of ideas that you could, I don't know, everybody could get on board with. Term limits. Term limits in the House, in the Senate, and in the Supreme Court. Term limits
They're
in these
not
federal
ever
district courts.
going-
Hold on.
No.
Well, no, I understand. Also, here's another really interesting one. If Congress can't figure out, oh, you know what? Throw a balanced budget amendment on the appropriations bill. Yep. You have to balance the budget. Oh, by the way, if you don't, Congress, if you don't balance the budget, every single one of you are ineligible to run the next term. You're out.
Love it. I have an idea.
gone.
Let's use the nuclear option to eliminate all federal income taxes.
Cool.
Do we really need income taxes? No.
No, because the
no.
federal government's too big. The size and the scope is way too
Yeah.
big. Their power, well, we give them their power, but it's supposed to be extremely limited. And yet you have these people talking about democracy and freedom. I hate that they use that word. How free is it to be dependent on the federal government for your food and your housing and your benefits right now? They've gotten too big. We need to quit giving them all this money because they don't need it. Their responsibilities are extremely limited. They're supposed to keep us safe, regulate interstate commerce, make sure civil rights are being enforced by the state. They don't have a lot of power.
Yeah, I mean, they can do international treaties.
Yeah.
They can do like stuff like that. That's about it. That's it. But
Hey, you know what? Those
apparently you're a
international
fascist.
treaties- Well, if you want to replace the federal income tax, those international treaties are a damn good way to implement tariffs. Tariffs can fund almost all of it, especially when you have a very, very reduced size and scope of federal government.
That's right.
And we pull out of the UN. Let's start there.
In fact, we actually designate the United Nations as a foreign terrorist organization because they are
100%.
actively attacking this country right now.
Yes.
On
actively.
many fronts.
Yes. Facts.
So we could do this all
folks.
night.
Facts, folks. All right, guys. I hope you guys had fun. I'm sorry that we weren't able to get to the other two topics. We will try to put together something for you later this week to get to them because there's a lot of really great information to share. But this shutdown issue is an important one. For those of you guys who follow me on X, I will put a copy of that video of the lunatic from Refuse Fascism out. Spread that far and wide. Share that information with everybody in your network. You need to understand that this government shutdown has absolutely nothing to do with the things that they're talking about in the media. It has to do with getting people angry enough to get them in the streets so that they can start their violent revolution. They told you what they're planning. That's what they're planning. That video needs to go far and wide. Everyone in this country needs to see it. All right, folks.
Make sure you're scared of Project 2025 because they've been telling all of their protesters that it's in Project 2025 that Donald Trump is going to use the Insurrection Act in order to be able to not have elections, and he's going to use martial law and blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't matter what you do.
Stop elections.
Well, they said he was going to implement he was going to use the Insurrection Act and then declare martial law, and we wouldn't have elections, and he would stay in office and blah, 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 blah. And that's what they've been telling them since Donald Trump took office. And they've told them it doesn't matter what you do at these protests or how you act or how out of control it gets. He's going to use the Insurrection Act and declare martial law no matter what. It's in Project 2025. They say.
That's weaponized idiots right there.
Yeah, idiots.
Those are weaponized ignorance, weaponized idiots.
All right, folks, this was fun tonight. If you're not subscribing to all the channels, please do it over on YouTube, over on Rumble, over on the X account. Follow us all on our social media platforms. We will continue to try to bring you as much information as we can. Guys, did you know that this was episode 20? 20.
Yeah.
We've done 20 of these.
I thought that too.
Wow. All right, folks.
Pretty good.
We're out. See you later. Have a great night.
The bullets and the punches and the riots have been flowing in only one direction for too long.
I've been trying to tell you guys this whole time how corrupt all of these things were, and here we are.
It is not our responsibility to fix something they spent years intentionally trying to destroy. Unity can only happen in a country when you have a people who agree on what the outcomes should be.